All right, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 79th Exchange Invest Southwest RFP community presentation. This evening, we are having or experiencing some difficulties with the Wi-Fi being out at City Hall. And so we're going to have to improvise, and we appreciate your patience. So you may have voices that will chime in, and they are people are driving and trying to find places to sit. But we will try to make this as seamless and as smooth as possible. And our goal is to end the meeting at about 7:30. So if you could advance, I just want to read through the slides. And then, so our attempted agenda this evening is to, again, do welcome and introductions. We'll do a quick recap of the RFP. And then we'll have two presentations. Each of those presentations will last about 30 minutes. And each team will be asked to present and has presented and prepared a 8-minute video. And then after the video has been shown, we will ask and invite you all to ask questions. And then we'll close with next steps. Slide. Gabby, we need to, for some reason, I can't advance the slide, but. So as a reminder, there was a request for a proposal, and the idea is that there's an attempt to reimagine the intersection between 79th and Exchange. And it is part of a key element of the Invest Southwest initiative. And the city is asking, in fact, for feedback on the proposals that you see today, to help it advance and select a winning entry. So as a reminder of what we hope to accomplish today, it is again for you, the community, to have a chance to meet the two teams that we have. One of those teams, we'll introduce the teams in a minute. We also want you to be able to hear and learn from the proposals they're submitting, and to be able to ask any questions or provide any feedback on what you're seeing and hearing. So I talk you through that what's going to be happening is that, again, there will be a quick recap of the RFP process. And then the developer team, again, will be invited to have time to talk to you about you'll see a video, and then they'll have about 22 minutes to answer your questions. I'll talk a little bit more about what that will look like. And again, I'm going to ask
you want me to participate. No,
put yourselves on mute, so that we can move through the presentation as quickly as possible. Once we are done, again, we'll end with the Department of Planning coming back and talking to you about the next steps, and what you should expect, and where you can find additional information. So if you're joining by Zoom, please use the Q&A button or the chat box if you're a panelist. The Q&A button is to the far right of your screen, and we invite you to put your questions in that box. And someone will be reviewing those questions, and when possible, I will be reading as many as I can aloud to the team, and asking the team leads to answer those questions. You can also, the answers will also be posted on the Chicago Department of Planning's website following this meeting, and the website is there. As well as, if you have other questions or additional questions, feel free to email those to dpd@cityofchicago.org. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna, Lisa, are you in a space where you could address the RFP recap?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna pull over do this part. Oh boy. Okay. Advanced slide, please. So as you guys are well aware, the RFP site was the north and south side at 79th and Exchange, as shown by the arrow. This site contains several buildings. The buildings on the north side, one is featured that was requested to be rehabbed is what I call the barbershop building because it appeared in the barbershop movie. On the south site, we have that yellow rated building called the Ringer Building and the Currency Exchange. Totally, it's roughly about 1.7 acres. Advance the slide, please. Okay, so we went through several meetings where we did a visioning with different roundtable members for the entire 79th Street corridor, and as a result of that visioning, those two sites were chosen. The group that we had volunteers from the CCAC organization that helped and assisted us in this visioning. We looked at the South Shore Plan. We had the Invest Southwest kickoff. We did some roundtables, and we also did some stakeholder reviews. And all this was done this year. Advance slide, please. So the parcels described in the RFP, as I stated again, included some significant buildings. And we thought of this corner as a gateway to 79th Street. And it was thought, some of the recommendations from the community were sit-down restaurants, cafes, ice cream shops, neighborhood retail, professional services, and other community-focused establishments was also talked about. Again, we're looking at 79th and Exchange to be a gateway at this intersection. Advance slide, please. So the RFP timeline, we're at step 3, where we're looking at evaluating the proposals we received. We received 2 proposals, and again, we'll introduce the 2 respondents in a moment. We're looking for feedback from the community regarding these 2 proposals, presentations done today. Then after that, it will be developers selected and negotiations will begin. But there are several steps in between step 3 and step 4. Step 3, once after this meeting by Friday, we hope to have the community survey scorecard posted online, and everyone that registered for this meeting will be able to fill out that scorecard so we can get additional feedback from the community. Advance slide, please. So the 2 proposals, and I apologize, one of these pictures is wrong. So it was Thrive Exchange, and then actually the other one is Urban Array was the respondent to this RFP. Change slide, please. So what to keep in mind as you listen, we're looking for overall impressions of each proposal. We want to know what excites you, what concerns you. We want you to think about the community wealth building, the involvement of minority-owned team members, promotions of local business development, local hiring and quality jobs and prior experience. We want you to pay attention to the competency and appropriateness of the uses in space. Is it reflective of community priorities? Is it a high quality design? Development, design team experience and abilities. Advance slide, please. So how today's feedback will be incorporated. First, we want to comment synthesis. And I'm having trouble reading, so please forgive me. So DPD will synthesize today's comments and questions and issue a developer Q&A to the public by Friday. The online scorecard is the second step, and that is what I just mentioned that will be released on Friday. The online scorecard is soliciting more detailed opinions on the presentations and will be made available Friday, September 24th. Then we will go through reviewing and other input options based on the community feedback. DPD is reevaluating community process from several other rounds. And so if needed, we will have more community input. And finally, there will be a selection. Once a team is selected, DPD will refer to the feedback from these sessions and future engagement opportunities to advance negotiations and amend the winning proposal. So there is opportunity for us to recommend other additional changes. Advanced slide, please. So, advanced slide, please. There seems to be, can you advance the slide one more time for me? No, back up. There's a slide missing. Consuela's slide. So I'm going to introduce the facilitator for the section where the developers will be presenting and doing their Q&A session. Consuela, I don't have your bio. Can you introduce yourself and give people a little bit feedback about who you are?
Yes, ma'am. Happy to. And I won't spend a lot of time. Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Consuela Brown. I am fortunate to be your facilitator this evening. I have been fortunate to have participated in several of these conversations. And I am a former funder and currently a consultant and teacher. So if we could, I just want to quickly go over some housekeeping notes and for the evening, so that we can run as smooth as possible under the circumstances that we find ourselves in, which is that, again, that City Hall had lost its Wi-Fi, and so the staff is sort of trying to pull this together as best they can and to adapt. So again, we want this to be as robust as possible in terms of conversations and questions. We invite you to place your questions and use the Q&A function. And if you happen to be a panelist, then you have both the option of the chat or the Q&A. I will try to be monitoring both. I will try to respond to the questions in the order in which they arrived. And if I think that there's some overlap in the question, I might try to synthesize them so that we can maximize time. Please address the questions to the development team that is presenting. So we'll have two development teams again, Thrive and Urban Array. And we then, so I think we're going to start with Thrive. I'm not sure I have to go back to Urban Array. Sorry, we're going to start with Urban Array Innovation, and then we'll move into Team Thrive. Before we get queued up for each of the videos, I am going to, so just to remind you of two things, one of which is that all questions are valid. This is a community forum, and it is meant to encourage community residents to ask questions, to understand what the process is and how it works, as well as to sort of dissect things that they don't particularly understand. And then we just want to remind you that if we can all just remember this is a public forum and to respect each other in our comments. So with that, I see, Jim, that you are here. Did you want to, is there anything you wanted to say before we move forward?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you everyone for attending today's Meet the Developer session. And Consuelo, you're doing a wonderful job despite all the nonsense that's happened on this end. No, I suggest that we just continue to keep going and let's get to the heart of what we're doing here today, which is meeting the developers. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So many thanks for the DBT team. I want to also thank Alderman Mitchell, who is also on the line for his leadership and support of this project and effort. So with that, I'm going to ask Urban Array Innovation and Leon, if you would take a minute before we show your video, if you could just tell us who is representing your team this evening.
Hello, everybody. I guess I'll go first. My name is Marcus Davis. I'm the Enterprise Director of Urban Array. Currently on our team that should be on the call, Scott McKibben from Brennan Investment Group, Benita Morty, who is the Chief Technology Officer of Urban Array and the President of the National Society of Black Engineers in Chicago, Ryan McCrae that represents Ware Macomb, our design team architect. I think Dave is on the call. Dave Clark from Brown and Moman. We had an issue getting him his email and his link or whatever. So, and I think that's the majority of the members of our team. I'm excited to get to finally engage the community fully and to get some solid feedback on what it is that we've designed for you. And I look forward to the questions.
Thank you, Marcus. So with that, we're going to try to show the first video, and then we will go from there to questions and answers. Again, while you're watching the video, I invite you to, if you have questions, to put them in the Q&A so that we can answer them. And there Marcus is. So let's take it away.
My name is Marcus Davis, and I'm a Chicago native, a social impact entrepreneur, and the enterprise director of the Urban Array Foundation. Coming from a military family, I didn't grow up here in South Shore, but I spent almost all of my summers as a child on the south side of Chicago, and they were very important to me in my formation. My grandma lived right here on 79th Street, and we used to run and play down on Rainbow Beach. South Shore is the closest thing I've ever had to a hometown. Growing up, I always wanted to come back and create more opportunities for kids and families like mine who didn't come from a lot of money. So I'm really pleased to finally get the opportunity to do that with the Array Innovation Exchange. South Shore is a beautiful place to live, full of beautiful people, and this project will help that shine through. Urban Array is a nonprofit that I founded back in 2017 with the aim of investing in entrepreneurs of color by redirecting money, energy, and creativity into businesses and communities. The AIE will be the ultimate practice of that vision. In order to create the best proposal for South Shore as possible, I decided to assemble the best team possible. The AIE team consists of a perfect fusion of both locally trusted and globally renowned partners. I wanted to include the community in every step of the project's construction while also bringing in power, resources, and financing of large private firms that the community of South Shore could normally access. The development team consists of Urban Array, Brennan Investment Group, and Keeley Construction, and the design and construction team consists of Brown and Moman, Ware Malcolm, and the other local WMBA and MBE businesses on our team. Our partners all have extensive experience in their respective fields and have done plenty of projects of this scope or even bigger, and have the successful working history and a successful history of working together. The Elk Grove Technology Park is a prime example of this kind of project. It was funded by Brennan Investment Group, designed by Ware Malcolm, and built by Keeley Construction, covering over 1.2 million square feet of state-of-the-art space, high-end glass facades, a modern precast construction. Elk Grove Technology Park is a premier example of our team's capabilities to deliver amazing results. Brennan Investment Group is a private real estate investment firm that acquires, develops, and operates industrial and commercial properties throughout the United States. Their portfolio ranges from over $4 billion of different types of properties, and they own over 104 properties in just Chicago alone. Keeley Construction is a general contracting company that specializes in the redevelopment of existing buildings with new construction, construction management, and construction consulting services. They have decades of experience servicing the Chicagoland construction market. The AIE will provide a gorgeous exterior for the 79th and Exchange Street corridor, and the height, grandeur, and modern design of the building will make the area exceedingly more attractive to outside businesses and investment. The Museum of Black Technology and Engineering will sit on the corner of the intersection, and the two-story glass walls will showcase the museum from the street level. Nicely inside, guests will be able to view our many exhibits, celebrating Black innovation in the experience and excellence. I've always held a strong belief that in order for someone to be something, they have to first see it. That's why I think it is of utmost importance that Black kids are exposed to everything that their people have achieved and are capable of. Every community could benefit from a dose of inspiration like this. Outside of the museum will be a lush courtyard to preface the main entrance, furnished with bushes, stone benches, bike racks, and a rain canopy. Once you've passed through the museum and gone up the stairs to the second level observation balcony, guests can enter into the Business Startup Incubator and Accelerator. The Startup Incubator and Accelerator is the lifeblood of the AIE. While many community projects claim to have a business incubator, business incubation is so much more than conference rooms and office space. Business incubation requires connections to capital, coaching, entrepreneurial resources, and networking opportunities. The AIE has the privilege of being teamed up with two of the largest business incubators in the world and the most successful, 1871 and Techstars, as well as several other educational resources from our local South Shore partners, Ignite Technologies, Blue Lacuna, Jane Addams Resource Center. With these partners, our participating founders will have every tool at their disposal possible and will be connected to a global network of like-minded individuals who want to see them succeed. This is the kind of collaboration that exemplifies what the AIE is all about. Our urban agriculture section of the building will have an attractive effect on the corridor, adding a measure of green to offset the steel and glass, thereby showcasing the versatility of the structure. For it is not just a business technology center, but a headquarters for a community of its very own. Our greenhouse and vertical garden will grow a large array of crops that will utilize our adjoining restaurant venture, The Duel. The Duel makes for a genuine farm-to-table experience right here in South Shore that people can see with their own eyes. The Duel is a restaurant concept that the team and I are particularly excited about. Rather than just having one restaurant, we prefer to have several. And that's how we conceptualize the Duel. Duel as in two, and duel as in battle. Every 4 weeks, we'll have two early-stage restaurateurs reside in one of our two kitchens, operating separately from one another. At the end of the 4-week residency, we'll host an event where the two restaurants will battle it out in a tasting competition judged by the South Shore community. This will give South Shore something that no one else in Chicago has, and that people from all over the city will be compelled to visit again and again. In addition to the Duel, guests will be able to enjoy a new Momentum Coffee and Roastery location in one of our street-level retail spaces. Other features of the building include our digital media studio, our makerspace, a fabrication lab, our mental and physical health center, and our digital media center that will include a podcast studio, television studio, recording studio, and a digital media lab where members will be able to edit their content. South Shore is home to many aspiring artists and creators, and we will ensure that they are not barred from success on account of their inability to access resources. Similarly, our makerspace and fabrication lab is where members will be able to train in welding, assembly, and prototyping. Our prototyping services will be offered for businesses both inside and outside of the community, giving anyone the chance to build and test a new product or a service design. Our health and wellness space will include Sanctuary Health, our preventative medicine partner, and Self-Mind, our mental and emotional health partner. This modern and serene space will be unlike the sterile rigidity of typical medical offices, because we appreciate that many women and people of color have been unfairly treated by the medical industry. So we wanted to offer our members a very different and enjoyable healthcare experience. We will answer the DPD's request for mixed income housing by building a 40-unit, 5-level structure to be located above the museum, reserving 20% for affordable housing and another 20% for our entrepreneurs and residents program. These will include 1-bedroom to 3-bedroom options, thereby creating a range of price points to attract a variety of tenants. The piece of the AIE that makes it the best and the most innovative option is the tokenized economy that we'll be implementing along with this building. One of the biggest issues divested communities face is capital leakage. When a dollar enters a Black community, it typically only circulates once before being spent elsewhere, since the majority of us, unfortunately, work and shop outside of our community due to the lack of small businesses. This causes the small businesses that are in the community to suffer. When a tokenized economy is used, the capital is then trapped within the system. We will use cryptocurrencies to create value.
Okay. Sorry, everybody. Marcus, thank you. The video link is in the chat if anybody needs it. We had a time limit on the videos as a means of being fair, and so the video stopped at 8 minutes. But you can access the video online, and there are links to the video in the chat. So with that, let's just get started. Again, feel free to ask as many questions as you like using the Q&A button in the right-hand side of your screen. Marcus, what I'll do is I will direct the questions to you, and then you can bounce them off to whoever you think is the appropriate person on your team to take on that question. So the first question is, how many community members and or community members and wards are represented on this call? I think we don't know, but we do have on the call 110 people, participants. So it feels like the community is, we have a pretty nice size audience. And we also have the alderman and the staff from the Chicago Department of Public Planning. So the next question is, will community members be a part of the selection team? And by that, you mean, I'm guessing that this is the part at which the community does get involved with your feedback. And then the selection panel is, I can ask Lisa or somebody else to answer that question as to who.
Sure. Good evening. So there will be 4 community members that will be serving as evaluators on the evaluation committee. We participated in a roundtable and had people nominated. There is a video of us actually, the city, myself and Kevin, who's in communications, actually doing a pick of the people that were nominated. There was a certain criteria set forth in this nomination. People had to live within a certain boundary around the RFP site. They had to participate in some of the roundtables. And so from that, there were some people that were eliminated because you had to also live there. And so there are 4 individuals from the community that will be participating in the evaluation committee. I would like to, unless I'm given other directions, we will not reveal those names until after they have had an opportunity to participate with the evaluation committee and scored their cards.
Thank you. We will try to get both of the links into the video into the chat now. So some of you are asking about that. Thanks, Kayla and Joan. Victor wants to know, where will the dwelling units be rental or for purchase, Marcus?
The dwelling units will be rental, with the idea of transitioning them to ownership for members of the community down the road. I also wanted to make one little correction on the summary page. The number of units that we're going to do is 40. It said 40 to 50. I'm not sure why. And then the number of affordable, I think, is 8. It's something like 20% as well. So there'll be rentals initially, but the idea is part of our overall exit strategy from financing is to transition the ownership of a lot of the property to community members, and also to transition the incubator and all that to the foundation. So I hope that answers.
Thank you. And so someone wants to know, I know the video ended as you were just beginning to talk about the tokenization of the economy. So Marcus, if you want to finish that thought.
Okay, well, So there's a lot to get in the weeds in on that, but the main focus is the way that our organization has worked and kind of built itself to this point is to bridge the gap between the entrepreneurs of color that we work with, that we help in that friends and family round where they're trying to build their businesses. We leverage an entire network of volunteers that might have, web development skills or software development skills, marketing, whatever. And we use this tokenization to incentivize them to participate and to help our founders. And then that in return, the founders then, in this particular instance, if we start a particular business that does a retail product or, the coffee shop example, people will be able to, that help build these businesses, will be able to participate in them by shopping, or getting goods and services from them. And it also incentivizes this, and this was in the video, it incentivizes, one of our main kind of conduits to the community through this is the South Shore Chamber. And we've discussed with them, how do we incentivize more people to shop in South Shore? So if you have this big, beautiful, building with all this capacity, you can incentivize people who aren't from the community to shop at a local South Shore business or to participate in a cleanup crew to help us, straighten up some of these blocks as an incentive to get access to the center if they're not directly from the community. So tokenization, in the short version, is could have a lot of potential impact in creating ways for us to be able to share and get access to this. We can give access tickets to our partners to make sure that the right people that have the motivation and the drive that the community knows of get access to the building, et cetera. So I'd love to talk to anybody about the tokenization, offline. Benita, who's my CTO, is also on the call. So, if you want to talk more about that, we can definitely do that.
Thank you, Marcus, and invite the team to, there are two questions that I want to just a couple perhaps. The first is if you could talk about price point in terms of rent for those apartments. And then a reminder, I think it was the Black Technology Museum, if I got that correct. And then maybe if you could talk a little bit about what that museum is again.
Okay, so I don't know if Scott's on the call. I don't think he got his link, but as far as the most of the rents, okay. So you might be able to answer more specifics about the exact rental amounts. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but the idea is the majority of it is going to be market rate. And then the 20% for the entrepreneur residence program, we're hoping we'll be able to give above, it'll be able to be above market rate because we can leverage the actual innovation exchange as an amenity to entrepreneurs who may want to bring their teams here to, maybe work on a business idea for 3 months or 4 months. With the affordable housing, I'm not particularly in love with affordable housing. I don't think it's deployed the way that it necessarily should be that benefits community. But, the incentives and stuff, are kind of hinged to that. So we have the minimum amount of that, but we're willing to negotiate with that as well. But they should be market level. And then, some above market as well for the entrepreneurship groups. And the second question was about the museum.
Yeah.
Was there a particular, or you just wanted to talk about that more fully?
I think someone missed what type of museum. So I think it's the Black Tech, correct me, it's the Black Technology Museum.
Yeah. So
I'll take that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a Black Technology Museum that showcases Black inventors and engineers. Our goal is to really highlight the history that Black inventors and engineers have contributed when it comes to the world inventions and how we use them. So I'll give an example. Until 2 days ago, actually, there were no Black women in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. And part of the work that NSBE has been doing is to identify who those Black inventors and engineers are so that we can submit them to be included in the Hall of Fame. But then we also want to highlight and showcase them within the Black Technology Museum, Black Museum of Technology and Engineering, because we think it's important for the community to see that while we are great at many different things in entertainment and sports, we do also make significant contributions when it comes to science, technology, engineering, and math. So that's what the museum is about. So we're curating those inventors now. And we hope to have a lot more included, and not just historical, but also keep updating with more inventors as we go along and find our research into the future. And to the point about the National Inventors Hall of Fame, we recently were able to have Patricia Bath included in the National Hall of Fame.
We lost you, Benita, for some reason.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Right. So I was saying that we've just recently been able to have Patricia Bath, who is the inventor of the machine that carries out cataract surgery, included in the National Inventors Hall of Fame as the first Black woman. So those are some of the efforts that we're trying to showcase within the museum, is to highlight our history as inventors and innovators. I hope that
Thank you.
answers the question.
Yes, thank you. So Jacob wants to know, what's the estimated cost of the project and how will it be financed? Marcus, I don't know if you want to kick that off to somebody on the team.
All right, Scott, do you have that one?
I do, yes. So, the cost of the project, it's a little bit in flux, but it's about $43 million, kind of broken down between the different parts between acquisition, but really the lion's share of that is the hard cost to develop the different phases of the building. And as far as how we would propose that it would be financed, it would be a combination of, government, TIF, tax credits, grants, making roughly, 60% of that, and the other 40% coming from, a bank loan, which would be about 25% of the capital stack, and then about 15% would be, institutional or high net worth investors that would invest in the project.
Thank you. So both Tiffany and Clinton are asking about the percentage of, I think there's two questions here. The first question is about the percentage of business occupants who will be from the community. Are you able to hear me? And then the second question is then how many of the, in terms of jobs and the creation of employing people to help build this complex, how many of those will be community residents?
Okay,
so yeah, go ahead.
So the construction temporary job side is probably about 250 construction jobs that are going to be temporary. With between Brown and Moman and the National Society of Black Engineers and working with the South Shore Chamber, we're kind of all on the same page as trying to get as much minority participation into this project, upwards of 40 to 50% at the very minimum. And what was the other question that you asked?
And again, it was how many of the community residents would actually
okay, so yeah, this is as far as the businesses that are going to be part of the startup studio incubation system, we probably can handle about 35 businesses probably a year in different cohorts, usually run these with batches of businesses. But the center will be open to members or community members that kind of get filtered through our partners. So South Shore, and then there's other community organizations that we haven't even been able to, really get, build relationships with. But the idea is that you do have a limited number of seats. We want it to be as community focused. I mean, Urban Array's whole ethos is about Black entrepreneurs from our communities. It's not just Black entrepreneurs, that really is kind of one of our main focuses. And so we want to be able to get the right people who can really take advantage of the opportunity into the building. And this kind of feeds back into the tokenization. And because that allows us to be able to know who's coming and who's getting access, and to be able to have real data that says, we can show 2 years from now, we can show this same group, what we've actually been delivering through this system. So, that's also part of it, is that there's a lot of analytics and stuff that we can employ here to really have a good measure on what our community development efforts are actually doing. So, the number of businesses is probably 35 that can get hands-on treatment that are part of the portfolio. And then it can be open to members who are maybe more nascent stages of developing their business, who just need access to the space, mentorship, education, that kind of stuff.
Thank you. And so we're about 8 minutes in. I'm going to try to get as many questions as we can. So the next question is about youth involvement. From Deborah Harrington, wants to know what aspects of the proposal are specifically targeted at youth.
Okay, so a majority of the youth programming will probably be on the education side. So that's, with conjunction of our organization, 1871, entrepreneurship boot camps for youth. I'm a software developer. So is Benita. We have a special place in our heart for teaching kids to code. I mean, it's one of the quickest come ups you can make. Within 6 months, you learn how to code, you can make 75, 80 grand a year. So, we'll really be focused on youth engagement there. With the Media Lab, one of the very first businesses I started, or a nonprofit that I started, was a nonprofit that kind of focused just around that. We exchanged like studio time for, study hall mentorship time. So there's all kinds of ways with the assets that are within, the AIE to be able to have avenues of education for young adults. My kind of target demo for that would probably be 15, kind of high school age. But we'll have the space and the opportunity to bring in additional programming if we need to, if it's effective to deal with youth younger than that.
Great. And
I'll add to that. Can I add to that,
Okay.
please? Yeah, so in addition to that, in partnership with NSV, who has multiple different programs that do focus on K through 12 students, we'll be incorporating some programming into the AIE, which is the Array Innovation Exchange. I did see that someone asked what AIE stands for. So those are programs specifically focused on K through 12, and we often do break that up into different chunks over the years. So we will have engineering camps, summer camps. We'll also have programs catered specifically to individuals who are just about to go into college, and those programs heavily focus on coding for anyone who's interested in computer science and computer engineering. But there's a breadth of that we're able to break down through K through 12. So we do heavily address youth when we think about what our programming is going to look like.
thank you, Benita. So there was a quick question about AI, the acronym AIE. Can someone just tell us what that stands for?
The AIE, that's just the Array Innovation Exchange. Sorry, it gets long mouthed after you have to say it 10 times, but yeah, it's the Array Innovation Exchange.
Thank you.
Is what we've named the project.
All right. So Val, I see your question. Linda and Val, I'm going to skip those questions because this team can answer them. But Johnny Mullins wants to know about the membership fee. What's the membership fee?
Okay, so we don't have a set membership fee. The idea is that there's kind of different levels to this. There'll be general memberships, and we'll set some modest fee for that. There will be a group of people who are directly referred from the community partners. And the goal is to do through, grants and other things. And, we really didn't get a chance to really get heavily into like a lot of our partnerships, but, 1871, which is one of the most, celebrated business incubators in technology, Techstars and MHub, who does our fabrication lab and that kind of stuff. They're all going to joint grant write with us for this center. So the idea is to be able to subsidize the idea of this membership fee for the community members. And then you'll have a third group that'll be part of kind of our portfolio, which is that 10 businesses, every 4 months. And they'll actually won't pay to use the center, and they're also eligible for some money from our own, investment pool. So we do small friends and family round investments. So like $5,000, $50,000. They'll also get some of that if they qualify for the portfolio team, along with the support and everything that comes from being actually in the Innovation Exchange.
Thank you. So Sherry, I hope that answers your question, which was about the kind of businesses that were being selected for.
Well, I can answer that real quick, because I know what the question is a lot of times is like, are we only technology businesses, right? But no, I work with groups that are in Inglewood and North Lawndale, and we focus on traditional, retail type businesses, but almost any business, and, looking at, most small businesses, most of them can use help with website design and getting more technically savvy and developing technology processes to make their businesses more efficient. So even if it's not a technology business and just a standard, retail business or mom and pop shop, there are still a lot of things that we can do using the internet and all these other tools to make it so that, they're more sustainable. So all types of businesses. We have a particular skew towards technology because we think that could possibly have the most community and, economic impact on the Black community. Again, trying to get ahead of the curve, into the next economy is kind of where we're kind of focused.
Great. So we're 3 minutes down, last 3 minutes. I'm going to try to get as many questions as I can in. I'm going to ask the DPT staff to answer as many questions as they can in the chat. So the next question is one from Dana, and she's asking, how many similar centers have you built?
So to this scale, this is the biggest project that we've done. We've been doing it in this format for about 4 years now. Before COVID, we had a 5,000 square foot space where we operated kind of a lot of this, but at a smaller scale as far as, the media studio, helping entrepreneurs, the education and the coding, connecting entrepreneurs to, the volunteers and the mentors in our network. And we were there for about 3 years, and COVID happened and we kind of shut that down. And this is kind of we know that we need a new place, hoping to move deeper in the community before we were in Pilsen. And so to this scale, including the museum and the housing and all that, this is our first foray. But with our development team as a whole, you know, between, you know, Brown and Moman and Brennan Investments and all them, I mean, they've done, you know, these projects, you know, a ton of them to this scale and bigger. So I think that we're fully covered as far as development capacity. One of the things that was important to me from jump was to make sure that we had the capacity to get this financed and the capacity to build it. You know, before we can do anything else, we have to actually be able to get this done. So I think our team is capable of doing that, and we have enough community contact, I think, to really make it worth everybody's while.
Thank you. So the last two questions, and we'll move on to the next team. There's a question or concern about parking. How is that going to be addressed? And Victor wants to know about a restaurant. I mean, a grocery store. And was that ever considered as a possibility in this plan?
Well, for us, no, because we're not. We wanted to. The exchange is what we were looking to build. You know, like we had this belief in this innovation center and the impact that it could have on the community. The relationship to South Shore is more personal for me because I have history there, but you know, the center is what we were looking for. And we were actually looking for a building in South Shore when we came along the Ringer building and found out that it was in the RFP. So no, we didn't consider a grocery store, but with the indoor vertical farm component, and then with that farm to table restaurant, we're hoping to at least, you know, and even through Sanctuary Health, one of our healthcare partners, to encourage, you know, better nutrition and access and all that stuff. But no, we didn't consider a grocery store because wasn't really in our profile of what we wanted to build. We're here to build an innovation center, and you know, and that's pretty much it.
And parking?
So the parking. So we have one layer of parking now that I think is 30 or more spaces. But then, you know, with talking to people kind of involved in this project, there's that Metro Transit the land by the Metro tracks that's on the east side of the building that is privately owned, and also there's a property across the street that we could use for additional parking if we need to. So we realize that, you know, there needs to be some more parking, and there's a bunch of available kind of on exchange on that south side, right across from the building, up and down there. But we do know, you know, we are open to other parking options as well.
Awesome. So we're gonna wrap that up. I will invite, there's just a question about the museum funding and LED. 2 minutes and then we could really go.
Okay, I got you. So as far as separate funding for the museum will have its own separate funding pool. Partners for the museum, we're currently partnered with Museum of Science and Industry, along with Museum of Science and Industry, along with the National Society of Black Engineers in Chicago. And then we're hoping to bring on some other partners as well. We've reached out to DeSable and, you know, to try to get their perspective on it as well.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop us now. I'm going to thank Team Thrive Innovation, Marcus and your team.
Array Innovation.
Urban Array Innovation. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Urban Innovation, for an interesting and conversation and presentation. I'm going to now invite Thrive. Is that right?
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Come on, Urban Innovation. Sorry. Thank you. And I'm going to ask Lisa if you could continue to try to answer some of the questions that are for DBD in the chat. I can get that together. So Team Thrive, Gabby, if you're there, could you put up their slide? And again, reminder, we'll have an 8-minute presentation. We'll invite the team to come and introduce themselves. And then we will move into an 8-minute video, and then we'll do the same thing and with questions. And you can again enter your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat. So Gabby, if you're still there, and if we do have that slide, let's put that up. And who are we? Who's going to, I'm trying to figure out who the lead is here.
Consuela, hi, it's Leon Walker. How are you, Consuela?
Okay, Leon, there you go. Hi, Leon. Leon, can you introduce your team, please?
Hi, yeah, pleasure. Good evening, everyone. Leon Walker, DL3 Realty. So pleased to make this presentation to the community. Have with me many members of our team, including Angela Herlock from Carisha Associates, Lynn Reed from Revere Properties, Tanya Kadakia from DL3, Jackie Koo from Koo Architects, Ernie Wong from Site Design, Hansel Whitehurst, and Barrett Hatches from Chicago Bank. I think you're on mute.
All right, so we'll again, we'll start, thank you, with a video that outlines the project. And again, I invite you to put your questions in the chat and or the Q&A.
Welcome to Thrive Exchange. We sit at the intersection of two historic communities on the southeast side of Chicago, South Shore and South Chicago. Thrive Exchange at 79th and Exchange Avenue comprises 4 separate sites, an unprecedented opportunity to make an over $65 million investment in this community that's sure to create a ripple effect. Thrive Exchange North sits on the north side of 79th Street and Exchange, directly across from the metro station. Thrive Exchange is a creative repurposing of the barbershop building by adding 2 new structures to create one building of 49 affordable apartment units with tons of amenity space and ground floor retail for local businesses. On the south side of 79th and Exchange, we have Thrive Exchange South, a companion building that references and speaks a similar language to the Thrive Exchange North building. And we bring there 39 units of affordable workforce housing for families in this community. We found a way to activate the street with a ground floor plaza area that's directly off of the retail. And this important plaza provides a connection at the street level for visitors, for tenants, for businesses. To the south of the Thrive Exchange South building, we have the historic Ringer building. And we have a wonderful way of repurposing that with a medical office use. And we have planned approximately 3,000 square feet of collaborative space for local businesses and tenants, a tech incubator, and other creative uses to drive and propel the local businesses and entrepreneurs in this community. We also have with our partner, Metra, we can provide over 100 parking spaces to support the projects and the density that we're bringing to this intersection.
We don't only look at the housing and how we build up the bricks and mortar, but we look at how we build up the families. We plan to have live workspaces where people can come and not only have their businesses thrive, but actually live and live affordably. Our sister organization, Chicago Family Health Clinic, is also a part of this project. Our mindsets are very similar. We hire from the community. I know for Clarice and Associates, only over 80% of our staff live in the community that we serve in. This is going to be a homegrown South Side-based effort.
We've been in Chicago on the south side of the city pretty much for the last 44 years. We're always looking for places to provide additional care based on the needs in the community, and there's certainly a need in that area for additional health care. You know, when you come to a Chicago family location, you see the people that work there, they're a product of the communities that we're serving. And that's done intentionally. You know, we want to make sure that you're providing care to your friends, your neighbors, the people you go to church with, the people you see at the store. We hire everybody straight from the community. So if we went into this space, we couldn't take people that we have from existing locations, or that we have to hire all brand new people over there. They would be all new jobs.
Lee Reed has a tremendous reputation for doing creative spaces and really high quality for sale housing. And that is a new addition and goes outside of the initial RFP, but it allows us to bring a for sale component and a wealth building component for people who want to make a long-term investment in the community.
Revere Properties is proposing to design and build 24 for-sale condominium units on vacant land across the street from the Ringer building on Exchange Avenue. These 2 to 4 bedroom units will provide new home ownership opportunities in the community. The high-quality units will have private parking, rear yards, plenty of windows, and stormwater landscape garden areas. The upper floors will actually have lakefront views. We also intend to partner with ComEd to reduce electric energy costs by installing solar panels on the roofs of the building. To make these opportunities more affordable, we've partnered with Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago, a nonprofit homeownership advocacy group, to assist in providing subsidies directly to the home buyer.
When we were thinking about the design for the residential buildings, we were trying to design for all different types of people, from the live-work lofts that will be on the ground floor here, right next to the barbershop building, to studios for a single person or a senior who wants to live intergenerationally in the community, to family units where people can live with their kids and be right next to the train and the health center. On top of the retail, we have activated amenity space for the residents, and on top of that, a great rooftop deck that includes lounge areas, fire pits, grilling stations, and resident gardens where you can grow your own food.
There's this opportunity to really build some excitement around the plaza in the south building, develop a wonderful pocket park in the rear of that building, as well as turn Exchange into a really nice residential streetscape that filters down into the community.
We've tried to create a new kind of focal point or locus at this intersection that has a plaza on that side where we could have performances.
Thrive Exchange is 4 separate projects united by a single vision. This $65 million investment will have 4 separate financings. Each building can stand alone, but ideally they're meant to work together as a community. The buildings include studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments suitable for singles, families, as well as independent seniors. Rents range from 30 to 80% of the area median income, with a focus for most of the units around 50%, which would be affordable for a household earning $42,000 for a family renting a 2-bedroom apartment. The Ringer Building Rehabilitation and Adaptive Reuse maximizes the use of federal and state resources. Of the $65 million financing, less than 25% is requested from city funds. The for-sale condominiums by Revere Properties are seeking construction cost write-downs to maximize affordability and maximize inclusiveness in the neighborhood.
At DL3 Realty, we see promise and opportunity in our Southside neighborhoods, many of whom have been historically disinvested. We built our first project in 1979 at the corner of 71st and Stony Island in South Shore, and we're excited about Thrive Exchange here at the intersection of South Chicago and South Shore. We are proud to have worked with our community partners at the South Shore Chamber, as well as South Shore Works, Clarisha and Associates, Chicago Family Health Center, and we look forward to working with Alderman Greg Mitchell and the working group that's been established here in this community to refine our concept and deliver a thriving experience here at the intersection of 79th and Exchange. Thrive Exchange.
Okay, thank you. And so Liana will do the same with you. We'll have until about 7:25. We'll take a couple of questions. Again, I invite you all to use either the chat or the Q&A, and I will go to the Q&A now. And if the first question is to ask if you could share your timeline in terms of the projects. Are these phased projects, meaning that some will be completed before others? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, please do that. So obviously it all kicks off from the time when the award is made from this working group and from the city of Chicago. But from there, we have a 3 to 4 year timeline with the various projects hitting every year thereafter. So the first one is Thrive Exchange North, where we're taking the barbershop building and repurposing that with adding 2 new wings to that building and really creatively thinking about how to activate the street, bring artists housing options there, and to create amenity space on the rooftop deck that has great views of the lake and is really a high quality housing solution. And then Thrive Exchange South would follow thereafter. And then the Ringer building is also in that phasing. And then finally, the housing component that we read is leading will follow on as he builds out that housing component, with contracts. So.
Thank you. And so Mr. Muhammad wants to know about the proportion of each development partner employees. How many of them currently reside in the community? And then what proportion of each development partner's leadership team currently resides in the community?
Yeah, I mean, so actually our first house was at on Euclid Avenue in South Shore. And as you know, we built our first project at 71st and Stone Island. South Shore has been a home to us for a very long time. The interesting thing is Lee Reed also lives in the area, who's our co-development partner. And we have focused on bringing a highly diversified team of people that have worked with L3 Realty and know our projects, whether we're out in the far south side in Roseland or in Inglewood or in Chatham or in Woodlawn. Know that we bring an extremely diverse team. We focus on MDE participation, and we focus on the strength of being able to execute. These are large, complex projects with a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different stakeholders engaged in the process. So we think that we have over time been able to show a lot of success in navigating all those various obstacles and staying true to a vision to deliver projects that reflect community and are responsive to the needs of the community, but we shape those needs into actionable projects. We call our approach venture development, and I put that out there widely. You can go to the website to download the white paper on the subject, and we're also promoting local developers throughout the city with our Chicago Emerging Minority Development Initiative.
Thank you. And to follow up on that question, again, how do the developments benefit the residents who are already living in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, again, we, not only do you provide, high quality housing options, and, I know that there's been, some discussion about, what is affordable housing. We don't, focus on, what is, public housing or those kinds of projects. What we're trying to do is provide quality housing options with, full of amenities, bike storage, places to gather, to study, outdoor fresh air, rooftop deck amenities here in this rooftop. We've got a place where you can grow garden and vegetables, options and, grills and all those, great sort of features that you look for in high quality development. So we anticipate demand will be high. But we also like to bring services that we know can be sustained and that are really of a quality and a durability such that we can finance. Having been involved in a number of different projects across the city, we want to make sure that we shape all of the needs and to actionable projects so that we can actually get this done. We like to drop large scale projects into neighborhoods that create a ripple effect, because really the ultimate goal here is not just to build these projects, but to actually cause a ripple effect throughout the community so that we attract additional private investment in the neighborhoods. And that's what our approach is really about. Is really thinking beyond the four walls of the buildings and really how do we engage the community. So it's not just the residents, it's not just the local businesses that have retail options, it's not just the services from the quality healthcare provider, it's not just the sort of incubation and co-working and spaces that are creative. It's also about how do we engage the local landscaper, how do we engage the local roofer, how do we engage property management, and so we have demonstrated that and walked that out on a number of different projects across the city where we engage our local vendors. We want to build local businesses, because that's the backbone of how we actually begin to redevelop our communities.
And to add to that, Keila just wants to know, hello, Keila, how, so if community residents want to have some input on design and other decisions, how are you inviting them to give that kind of input?
No, I mean, that's a terrific point. I mean, that's part and parcel of how we go through this. I mean, this RFP process requires us to put our best thoughts out first for comment. But we've engaged, public art as part of all of our projects. I mean, we've got Bernard Williams, who the state is doing the sculptures. We've got one on Lakeshore Drive. He designed the Wonder of Woodlawn sculpture for us at 61st and Todd Building from the Joe Roscoe there. He's engaged with us doing some relief panels on another building that we're building right now. And so, we always are looking for local artist input. We're looking for design suggestions. But again, I mean, the thing that I like to bring to community is sort of openness and transparency about process. But at the end of the day, we got to have an actionable project that can be financed and that makes sense. So we're very, very committed to bringing in the community process because for us, we think it makes for a better project. And thing to point out, as you know, the things that we developed across the South Side through 2 rounds of civil unrest last year, where most of the South Side was heavily hit. By sort of those that were just doing damage and looting and so forth. None of the projects that we have across the South Side were hit, and I think we've been filed 1 insurance claim, and that's a testament to how we engage community because it's not just our project, it's not just our building, but these buildings and these projects become part of the community, and the community residents are the ones that come out and say, no, not here, no, not now. And they redirected those massive crowds that want to do damage and do problems and said, no, I have, my aunt, my cousin works there, my child gets services there. My grandmother, gets services there. My uncle was part of building the project. So that's the way you engage community long term. It's not just, through the construction process, which is temporary job. We like to also focus on that long-term engagement.
Thank you. So what are your, there's a question about transportation studies and how you're using them to understand the increased traffic effects on the area in general, and then on the existing residential streets.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's part of the development process. This is the kickoff, if you will, the beginning, this response to the RFP. But traffic studies are certainly a part of it. Environmental assessments are a part of it. Additional community meetings are a part of it, where you do iterative designs in the process. So, thinking about the local tenants that would be part of this, that's why we engage with South Shore Works. And the community, the Chamber of Commerce. We want to talk to Alderman Greg Mitchell. We want to understand how we can lift up local entrepreneurs. And one of the things that we have been successful in the grocery stores we develop, we always get them on the shelves. We help with technical assistance to get local entrepreneurs engaged in the process, whether it's understanding how to navigate. Sometimes it can be an intimidating process to get access to public resources. Whether that's retail corridor investments, whether it's NOF or even TIF if appropriate. So it's a really an engaged full court press with our community partners to make sure that these projects become a part and have ownership by the community.
And so I'm going to ask this to flip the question. I'm going to come back to the amenities part, but I want to ask Leon, how might you, as you think about this development, how might you engage on the intergenerational spectrum, thinking about youth and seniors? What does this development offer for those?
Okay, no, that's fine. And when we actually thought sort of deeply about those, when we were designing the housing components of the project, and really giving a range. We got everything here from 1 bedrooms to artists, sort of live workspaces, which is really entrepreneurial live workspaces. But a lot of times entrepreneurs are trying to live and start a business. Well, when you have a live workspace, you have that public facing component as well as your private living space all in one unit, which allows you to grow out of that live workspace while you're providing services to the community, and you can still activate the street. We have for sale housing. We know that the wealth building component is such a critical, desire, and it's a critical component of how we build communities. And so we're thoughtful in bringing in 24 units with Lee Reed and his experience in doing that kind of development. And it's just all around, we're thinking about the breadth and the continuum of households. And that's what we really believe makes a thriving community. A thriving community is not one that's based on one solo, discrete, population demographic type. We want to have a community fabric. And so that means we want to have really working families, that's what we focus on. And that means, teachers, that means, artists, that means students, that means, people that are retired on fixed incomes. And so you create a fabric there, and that's how you become sustainable over time. Whenever you try to go, really deep on one of those population types, that's when you get in trouble.
Thank you, Leon. So there's a question about the project seeming to be very renter and resident focused. Is there a need for this much additional housing in the neighborhood? And how are you planning to utilize the larger community to utilize some of the amenities who are not residing in the proposed developments?
Yeah, so we're overall, just over 80 units. And this is a TOD project. So you're thinking about, the South Shore line, you can be downtown in less than 30 minutes. So if this is, for people that want to live and work with a high amenity location, you're right off of the Rainbow Beach, and you can go and work downtown and come back to your residence without ever having to use private transportation, all on public transportation. So you want to try to create density around these transit-oriented areas. And we're proud to have Metro has seen the value of even adding this density to this location. And that's what creates the activity that supports the local retail. And so when you have, a variety of household incomes and earners that are part of the project, they support that local retail and give it the strength to be resilient and to thrive.
Thank you. There are a couple of requests for wanting access to a website. So I don't know if somebody in the team wants to just in the chat or offer up an email, a website that people can access for Thrive.
Yeah, vo3realty.com /venture development.
So one more time.
Or venture development. You can also put in Leon Walker TED Talk. I do a whole TED Talk on that. And so Tanya, if you can please populate the chat, a couple of links, that'd be great.
Thank you. So the proportion of the 65 million in investment, how is that going to be allocated along the lines of each of the developments?
Yeah, so right now the North Building is about $30 million, and then the South Building is about 25, and then the Ringer Building is about 15. The housing is a separate component of about $12 million. So that's in addition to that 65.
Perfect. And then there is questions again about amenities. So grocery stores, other amenities that you plan for the development. Can you just remind people what?
Yeah, I mean, so we have deep experience in retail. That's where we got started. We do a lot of repositioning of retail centers. We have a lot of retail partners that work with mostly local brands as well as national brands. I'm on the government relations committee by CSC and spent a lot of time in terms of trying to drive additional retail. But in this location, we saw the retail as mostly a convenience retail, which has been always what's been the strength and backbone of South Shore. And so the convenience retail is there to provide a place for the residents to have additional services, and to provide some entertainment options too. And then going past that, you want to have things that activate the area, for more than, what we call the 8 hours to the 14-hour day. And so that's where we get into, the live work situations, the collaborative space, and so forth. So all of that, is a blend of different services that creates a project that is resilient over time, that meets the needs of residents here locally at this intersection, as well as throughout the community. But the idea here is to build something that is strong enough in terms of investment that creates the incentive for others. The way that we do this is not through one project. We do this by attracting additional investment to the neighborhood and the community. And so we believe this is sort of the bookend of what's going on at 79th and Stony Island with the creative ideas, with the new movie studio, what's going on, along the area of Rainbow Beach, where you've got some, initial sort of shoots of optimism and investment around for sale housing. That's why we wanted to include a for sale housing component. But it's a blended, approach that we believe is the most pragmatic, as well as one that will be sustainable over time.
All right, so we're rounding up. We're in our last 4 minutes. I'm going to try to get 3 questions in, and the next question is about being. Is there a process in place whereby community residents will have first opportunities to purchase, and will there be a city-sponsored assistance, as was the case in Woodlawn?
Yeah, is Lee Reed? I'm not sure if he has links. So we're all just working through the link challenges, but I can speak to that's absolutely what we'll have. I mean, we are, our whole approach is about engaging local residents and businesses so that they thrive. And so I know Lee Reed has a commitment to that, and other housing developments that he's executed on. And it's really about creating that stakeholder who can grow their wealth over time. That's why we have the for sale component. But that for sale component would be fragile if you don't have the large scale investment that we're proposing here that really provides a lot of light and hope in the neighborhood. Whenever we go in with the kinds of investments that we propose, we typically see crime drop by more than 50%. We always provide a lot of employment and business opportunities. And so it's a quality, it's a commitment to the project over time. And we're not a helicopter in developer. We are engaged across the South Side. This is our focus. This is what we do day in and day out. And I think you can see from our other projects, which we're happy to share with more community members as this process proceeds. But I think we've built a reputation around our engagement, around our quality, around our execution. And I think this would be another great opportunity for us to display that.
Leon, this is Lee. I'm here.
Oh, great, Lee. Thank you.
Just to speak more directly to that question, we have partnered with Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago to assist us in developing and finding subsidies that will help both first-time home buyers as well as neighborhood home buyers for those for sale opportunities. So we did that in Greater Grand Crossing, where we built about 65 family homes. Neighborhood Housing Services was our partner there, and we were able to generate, we hope in this case, somewhere between $65,000 and $70,000 per unit to make the housing more affordable. And we will work through a process along with the community to figure out how to give access to existing residents some of those first options on those homes.
Thank you, Lee. So we're at the minute mark. I'm going to combine the last question and then thank you. Just interest in commercial space and how it's being filled. And then Bruce wants to remind us that there are non-retail entrepreneurs too, and to encourage you to consider them. So just in terms of the last question, commercial space, has it been filled or?
No. I mean, we have commercial space on the first floor of both the Ringer building, as well as the Live Work Lofts that are adjacent to the Ringer building. as well as the building, which is Thrive Exchange across the street there. So there are plenty of options, and we've scaled it such that we're talking 1,000 to 3,000 square feet type of opportunities, perfectly suited for growing businesses and emerging entrepreneurs in the community. And we're also, to Bruce's point, very, very focused on the professional services. That's what those live, work, loss are, very suited for the accountant, for the lawyer, for, someone that wants to have a public facing, street art to their unit, but also in the rear, they have their private living quarters.
Thank you, Leon and Team Thrive, for your insights and your answers. I'm going to turn this over to Lisa Washington in a minute. I just want to remind those people who felt like they did, if I missed your question or you didn't get an answer to your question, we will remind you that there's a website that you can send your questions to, and someone will answer them. We will try to make sure that everybody's question is answered. Thank you. Thank you. Lisa.
Pleasure. Thank you. Okay.
Take it away.
So guys, thank you for those rounds of questions. I am going to go off script a little bit because I am looking at the panelists here on the screen, and I know that there are some who had questions, but probably did not want to type it in. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to see if there's any panelists that had a question they wanted to ask, but didn't feel comfortable typing it in. Going once. Miss, I don't want to call any names. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
So Lisa, the challenge might be that she may not be able to have, she can't raise her hand, so I don't, oh.
Yeah, okay. This is Randolph Strahan. It appeared, but it wasn't answered. And I was just,
hey, Anita. Hey, what's up?
Just wondering, did everyone on both teams?
Wait a minute, I'm asking a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Oh yeah, I was asking, did both teams proposals have a meeting with the alderman before this meeting we're having today? Were there some discussions with the alderman?
No, the RFP was released by the Department of Planning and Development. We kept the alderman briefed on the ongoings. He was a part of the roundtables and the visioning session. Moving forward, he will be very important to the ongoing movement of these responses. So no, they did not sit down with the alderman, to my knowledge, with the alderman prior to this meeting. But this is just the beginning. We have a lot of community engagement left to do. Okay.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Are you going to work? Is there something planned to straighten out that intersection there at 79th and Exchange? Is there going to be some traffic signals or something put there?
We will raise that issue up with the Chicago Department of Transportation. We do understand. I know going west from that stop sign to get over the train tracks to that to get past these buildings is a challenge. So we will bring that up to that department as we move along this process. Any other questions? You're welcome. Any other questions regarding the two proposals? If not, I'm going to ask Gabby to show the screen, the last slide of the screen. So next steps. By the end, it will not be next week. I'm going to try to get this out Friday. We will send an email, or I should say, everyone should have the email by the end of next week. To all of those who registered for today's meeting that will contain the links to today's developers presentation, developer Q&A and comparative matrix that synthesizes today's comments and questions. So any questions that did not get answered in this forum, we will be sending a written document to the developers so that they can respond and answer those questions. And we will post them in the email that will be sent, as well as a link to the community scorecard for you to score the 2 proposals. This is the most important part of this. We're looking to get your feedback from these community scorecards. So you can go back to the videos on YouTube, rewatch them. When you get the questions, review the questions and answers, and please complete those community scorecards so that your opinion can be heard. So once all the input has been reviewed, and there's another evaluation process where 4 community members are a part of that evaluation team. They too will be doing a deeper dive and actually doing some scorecards as well. We will be looking at all of this information, and hopefully we can find a winning proposal that we can begin to negotiate with. So nothing's written in stone. There's changes that can be made. We're looking for your input through these community scorecards. So after the team is selected, DPD will refer back to the feedback from these sessions for further public meetings to advance negotiations and amend the proposals. So with that being said, Alderman, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. What I want to say is for all the residents in the 7th Ward that have been working with the Department of Planning and myself with all these long discussions and meetings to this point, thank you. It is, I'm gonna echo some sentiments that Lisa said. It's just only the beginning. I know there's some questions that, in knowing my constituents, there's some questions that you have that was sparked by the answers. So we will definitely get to the bottom, and we'll be resuming back to our meetings, and I'll be available to have further discussion with the community, and continue to work with the Department of Planning. So just hang in there. It's just the beginning of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. And I want to thank each and every one for your time and your participation. Please send your questions in. Every question is a good question. Send your questions in. You could send it directly to me if you like. I'm gonna quickly type in my email address. And with that being said, I bid you all a wonderful evening and thank you. And until next time.
Good night.
Thank you.